For the last couple of years, social gaming has become the norm. If you launch a game in the App Store or in the Google Play Store without a social element, you're not giving your game the best chance to succeed. So in this next section, we're going to implement some functionality around posting an image of the gameplay and a message to your Facebook timeline. Hi, I just wanted to let you know that this section of the course has now been updated from the original version that was published back in October 2015. Let me explain why. One of my students has pointed out to me that if you have the latest version of the Facebook app installed on the iPhone you're testing on, version 46, the functionality of the SL Compose View controller has been restricted. From what I have found, the restrictions have come from the Facebook side and not Apple or Xcode. So you're not going to see any funny or weird errors happen in the console when you're trying to build the game. All that you will notice if you do have that version installed is parts of your post to your Facebook timeline will be missing, like the image or the URL. So I've done a small workaround to help this change in security from Facebook, so do watch this lecture for that update. Now, aside from the small workaround that I've created, the other option would have been to implement the Facebook SDK. However, that would be way too much for this type of course, as it is in quite an involved process. You do have to register your game with Facebook and submit it to them for review and approval. I've not found any type of testing or sandbox environment that you could test this functionality on before submitting it to Facebook. You will also have to provide some screenshots, some written instructions, and an archive of your Xcode project, as they will need to test the functionality before they even think about approving your game. Now, if this is something that you would like to learn about, please let me know. And if there is enough interest out there, I will look at creating an entirely new course on implementing the Facebook SDK. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to reiterate that I have updated this section with a workaround for the security changes that the new Facebook app has introduced. Now, if you have already done this section of the course before, please watch it again and pay special attention for the workaround, and I will call it out as it's happening. As a bonus, I've added an entirely new section to this course, and that is posting a message to your Twitter timeline from within your game. So it is an entirely new section, and I've put it towards the end of this course, so please keep an eye out for that. The first thing we need to do is add two frameworks that Apple have provided. So we'll click on the top level project and then make sure the General tab is selected. Then under Linked Frameworks and Libraries, click the plus sign. And now we need to just locate these two frameworks. So the first one, Accounts, I can see there, so we'll select that. And then we'll go all the way to the bottom for Social. And we'll hold down the command key. So we can select two files and then click Add. So those two framework files will be added there. Just want to confirm that in build phases that we now have two more libraries under link binary with libraries, Accounts and Social. The next thing we need to do is update our game view controller. So at the top, the first thing we need to do is import that social framework. We don't need to actually import the accounts one in the actual file. That is fine like this. It should be a capital S as well. The next thing we need to do is create another extension. So an extension is a function within the Swift programming language that simply extends the functionality of an existing function or object. So we're going to type extension and then UI view. So the UI view is actually what you see when the app or game is displayed, everything in the view. So we're extending everything in the view, and this will enable us to actually take a screenshot that we can add into the post for our Facebook post. So I'm just going to make a comment at the above there of what this does. So extending the UI view, we could say view to make it easier to understand, to take a screenshot. That sounds fine. So inside this extension, we're going to create a function, and we're going to call this take screen, snap shot. And we will cast this as a UI image. Open and close the brackets, make some space, and I made a spelling mistake here, lowercase m is correct. This next bit of code is quite complex, so just follow along. So we'll start by typing UI graphics begin image context with options. It's quite a mouthful, that one. And then we type in the size as bounds.size. So bounds is the full height and width of the screen. And then opaque boolean will be false, and the scale 1.0, which is like 100%. The next line, draw view hierarchy in rect, and the rect will be self.bounds, which is self meaning this view controller and the bounds to this view controller. And then after screen updates, that has to be false. And then we type in CG context set interpolation quality. That's the one we want. And for the context will be UI graphics get current context. I think that's the one, UI graphics get current context. There we go. And then for the quality, it's a constant CG interpolation low. Okay, you could probably muck around with that and make it high, but I've just left it as low. The next thing we need to do is create a variable called image, and this is equal to UI graphics get image from current image context, and then we need to call UI graphics end image context. Graphics end image, I can't even type this morning, and then we're going to be returning the image. So that's effectively taking the image, the quality of the image, and the bounds of what we're going to be taking. Just get rid of some of that space. So the next thing we'll need to do is create a function that actually shows the view controller that Apple have provided that will contain the post that you're going to post onto your Facebook timeline. So we'll go all the way down to the bottom of our game view controller and make some space. It's not a lot of space, but we will try. Let me just try. Like that. Okay, so we'll start by creating the function, and this function is called show Facebook sheet. And the way this works is it is a notification to the notification center. NS notification. And open and close the brackets, create some more space. And then we need to create a variable and called Facebook sheet, and this will equal the name of the view controller that we're going to be displaying, and it's called SL Compose View Controller. Open and close the brackets, and we need to tell it what type of service we're going to be calling. So we'll type for service type, and the string, which actually is going to be a built-in variable called SL Service Facebook, and we only need one bracket there. So that's basically saying we need to call a view controller, and the type of view controller, or the service, is going to be the Facebook service. So on the next line, we're just going to call this variable that we created Facebook sheet, and we're going to call a completion header. So what that's going to do is it will allow us to do stuff when either the post has completed or it's done, or if the post gets cancelled by the user. The reason why I'm doing this is it's probably more for how you would develop the game in the future. A lot of games nowadays are rewarding users for doing things, so potentially you could reward the user by putting a post on their Facebook timeline. So we'll use result in and then a switch statement for result, and then we'll make some more open and close curly brackets, and then the case will be SL compose view controller result dot cancelled, and we can make a comment in here. We're not actually going to do any coding here, we'll just make it ready for you later on. Make a comment, add some code to deal with the cancellation. Okay, then we make another. Actually, we need to make a break statement, and then we make another case, and we'll use SL compose view controller result dot done, and then make a comment, add some code. Oops, so I made a spelling mistake up here. Some code to deal with the post being completed. That makes sense, kind of. And then we'll need to type break again. So that should get rid of all the errors that we had. Get rid of some of that white space that we created before. Okay, that's looking good. Now, because the function show Facebook sheet is a notification that needs to be posted to the notification center, we need to tell our view controller all about that, and that is done within our viewDidLoad function. So just at the end of that, outside of that if statement, we'll make some space, and then we'll start with a comment. Advise NS notification center of the view controller to launch. Launch. I should probably put in here Facebook view controller to launch, and the code for that is NS notification center self.default center, and then we need to use add observer, and the observer is self, it's this view controller, and the selector is the name of this function. So we're going to copy that, and that has to be inside quotes and then with a colon at the end. And then we need to give this a name so we can recall this from another Swift file using the NS Notification Center. So it doesn't really matter what you call it, as long as when you're recalling it, you type in the same text. So I'm just going to use Facebook ID. The object is going to be nil. And then to finish this off, what we need to do is add in the contents of the Facebook post. So we'll just get rid of some of this extra space that we created earlier. So outside the switch statement and the completion header, we will start with a comment, and we will go content of the Facebook post. And we'll start with a placeholder for some text. So we'll go Facebook sheet dot set initial text, and this can just be inside double brackets, and the placeholder will be enter some text. And then the next thing we need to do is just add in the image we're creating, or the screenshot that we're taking. So we'll type in Facebook sheet, and we use .add image, and before we continue on, we actually need to create a variable for this image. So we're going to create this in our constants file. So we'll click on constants, and then we'll type var, and we'll call it k screen shot, and this will equal a UI image. Okay, so go back into our view controller, and then where it says image UI image, we will type in the name of that variable, and there it is there. The last thing you can do is add a URL into the Facebook post. You would do this if you had maybe a website for this game. So you could do something like add URL and then type in NS URL, open and close some brackets. It has to be closed with two brackets, and then we'll type string, and it could be http :/mygame website.com, and it just needs the two brackets to close it out. And the last thing we need to do is present this view controller. So we'll go self.present view controller, and the view controller will be called through this function Facebook sheet. The animated will be false. Actually, just delete that, and then we'll just go open and close some brackets, and then optionally you can add some code in here for anything that you want to do once the view controller has been displayed. Optional completion code.
In this lecture, we covered off the foundations of implementing a simple Facebook timeline post. We used two Apple frameworks to complete this, Social and Accounts. The Social framework allows the developer to display a simple view controller for a Facebook timeline post. The Accounts framework allows the developer to use the Facebook accounts credentials stored in the iPhone settings to connect the game to the user's Facebook account.